she got rid of Lena Khan, etc. So that he was the most pro-labor president we've had in our lifetimes.
That is the lowest bar there is.
Of course.
What's going on, you guys? Today we have Krystal Ball versus TYT versus Cenk Uygur and Kasparian. Krystal Ball is calling out TYT's grift, the hypocrisy in Cenk Uygur and Kasparian. Let's get into it.
Just as popular. And the right-wing populists like all that. Anti-war, anti-corruption. Those are all popular, and the right-wing populists agree with the left-wing populists. So there is an area of possible agreement there that could get something done that the establishment would never do. The establishment would never be anti-war. They would never be anti-corruption. They would be never anything positive. So like we've broken out of that prison, and that prison was the worst place in the world. And it was filled with nothing but gaslighting about the American people suck and the donors are the greatest. The politicians are honest.
I just don't know who is going to be that voice, number one, because his administration is.
I'm going to try and not interrupt this 10 million times, everyone, but I would accept some of this from Cenk if it was 2016 and he was like, guys, Hillary was a disaster. Donald Trump is also likely to be a disaster, but we've never seen a guy like this govern. Maybe we'll be able to push him. But not only after watching all 4 years of him govern, not only after watching him abandon every single principle and fire everyone who tried to actually encourage him to do the populist things he ran on. He did like a new NAFTA. He built like, a portion of the wall, which I was glad to see didn't come to fruition, but he didn't repeal and replace the Affordable Care Act. I could go on and on and on. Then this time he gets the nomination again. He wins the presidency. And what is his cabinet full of? It's a bunch of war hawks and neocons. And you had Matt Gaetz as like red meat to throw to the MAGA movement. And guess what? He had to resign in shame. So everyone that remained is like Marco Rubio or Mike Huckabee or, fucking Linda McMahon. It's like there's obviously nobody that's going to reason with him from the outside. He's already had meetings with Benjamin Netanyahu's wife, and he's talking about how there's going to be hell to pay in Gaza for what they've done, as if there hasn't already. Do you guys see the game's already up? And for Cenk to be coming this late to the party and trying to argue as if we don't know, it's all a mystery, is obviously bad faith. It's transparently grifting, and Krystal's going to call him for it.
Honest.
I just don't know who is going to be that voice, number one, because his administration has largely been filled with, almost with a few exclusions. I think the labor secretaries.
And right there, we have the Vanguard calling out Cenk, calling him out, saying that you know what's going to happen. Don't act like you don't know the difference between right and left. Don't act like you're clueless, Cenk Uygur. What are you doing? This is TYT. What's going down? They're turning into a grift right before our eyes. We have everyone calling it out. We have Krystal Ball. We have Emma Vigeland. We have the Vanguard. It's what more do you need, Cenk?
Is a notable one, but with almost all like sort of right-wing ideologues. And number two, I guess part of what I'm grappling with as well is if you go down the list of issues, I'm all for a horseshoe, and I think there are some areas there, to work with Josh Hawley or work with, it used to be Marco Rubio, actually was kind of interesting on some of the economic stuff. Like Matt Gaetz also was interesting on some of the economics.
Yeah.
All for horseshoe, working with elected representatives, et cetera. But if you go down the list, I think you and I are mostly ideologically in the same place. I'm sure we have some differences, but I think we're by and large ideologically in the same place.
Yep.
If I go down a list, I am on almost every issue closer to the Kamala Harris Democrat than I am to the Donald Trump Republican, whether it's healthcare or wages or labor or any of these things. And so that's what's that's what's a little bit like dissonant for me is, if we're caring about the policy outcomes, I think I'm much more likely to get improvement, not the things we would want, like Medicare for all, but much more likely to get improvement on the policy outcomes that I would want to see from a Kamala Harris. So react to that, but also like, are you saying that you're actively happy that Trump beat her at this point?
No, but
Okay.
what I was going to say is, since I agree with you ideologically that I'm closer to the theoretical Kamala Harris positions,
Right.
that's why I voted for Kamala Harris instead of Donald Trump.
Right.
And I'm worried that Donald Trump, again, never called him a Nazi, never called him Hitler, but fascist is another word for authoritarian, right? And so, I'm worried that Donald Trump's an authoritarian, so that's why I voted, and he said to terminate the Constitution.
Yeah.
That's why I voted for Kamala Harris. Okay.
Yeah.
So now, having said that, now that he has won, right, I would have preferred an actual populist instead of what I view to be a fake populist, right? But now that he has won, there is a tiny ray of hope that did not exist in the establishment prison.
Okay. I hear that.
So he last thing on that is, I'll give you a specific example. Paid family leave. Is Trump likely to do it?
Never gonna happen.
No, of course not, right? So, and was Kamala Harris going to do it? No, of course not. Okay, no, there's
I think you had a better
0%
chance with her then.
No, I totally disagree. That's where I disagree.
That's fucking
The establishment never wavers. They will do what corporate donors tell them, not 99% of the time, 100% of the time.
That's not true.
It is 100.
What are you talking about, Cenk? Are you saying that Trump is not going to be in the people's pockets, that he's not getting paid off? Or like, how clueless are you? Are you saying that he's better than the establishment because he's not getting paid off? Because the establishment is getting paid off 100% of the time? Is that what you're saying right now? Like Trump doesn't have Jared Kushner right next to him who's getting paid off by everybody? Like Trump is not doing his own, corruptness? Are we serious right now? He is a part of the establishment. Trump is the establishment at this point, dude. What are we talking about? What are we going on about, Cenk?
But Cenk, I can give you
I will debate you on any issue.
I'll give you some specific examples from the Biden administration,
Okay,
which is
can't wait.
antitrust, Lena Khan.
Yeah.
Right? The Wall Street Journal hated him for that. The billionaires hated him for that. I mean, that was a big pressure campaign they put on Kamala Harris to make sure she got rid of Lena Khan. So that he was the most pro-labor president we've had in our lifetimes.
That is the lowest bar there is.
Of course. But these are two.
Notice how he immediately changed the goalpost after she absolutely clobbered his ass. I'll debate you on any single one of them. Okay, she gives you a very clear example. And if Cenk wants to pretend that as a progressive host, as a guy who cares about progressive economic policy, and also as somebody who cares about and values independent media, you're going to shrug off Lena Khan and the work that she's done for antitrust? Are you kidding me? There's a reason guys like Mark Cuban were shitting their pants about her getting her job renewed under Kamala. There's a reason that they were like, well, we really like Kamala, but we need her to come to her senses on this Lena Khan lady, because she meant fucking business, bro. Now, again, I am the last guy to be a Biden simp. Okay, we debated Kyle midway through the Biden presidency. He was a lot more charitable to the guy than we were. We were absolute Biden haters. Okay, and yet I will still tell you that is an inarguable benefit to him being president, right? And you could also talk about the NLRB, which she's probably gonna, it's like, come on.
Yep. And it's also telling that kind of stuff, actual substantive wins that you could point to, Lena Khan, the NLRB, that's not enough for Cenk. He's more than happy to sweep it away and say, oh, what? You're impressed by that? What, the lowest bar in history? You're really going to tout that accomplishment? What are you, like the easiest person to please in America or something? But then he'll turn around and give Trump and Musk preemptive credit for something they haven't even done yet and absolutely will not do. But they responded to him on Twitter. So let's give them preemptive credit and hype people up and pander to MAGA now. That's Cenk's tact. But when it comes to a Democrat, when it comes to Biden, who, yeah, as Krystal said, not only did some really progressive things, but some downright populist things. Cenk keeps talking about populism. What's more populist than the NLRB, than labor issues?
If you guys like this video, make sure to like and subscribe for more content like this.
Trust issues. That's actual politics. We're not talking about culture war stuff. We're not talking about identity. That's as populist as you could get. And again, we're not Biden fans, but you have to give it to the guy. Those are some of the few areas where he excelled at. But Cenk's not going to talk about it. Cenk wants to give Trump preemptive credit for something that doesn't even exist.
Bar there is.
Of course. But these are two areas where the donors did not want this, right? And his National Labor Relations Board, the general counsel, Jennifer Abruzzo, genuinely sort of revolutionary in her approach. And they ended captive audience meetings, for one example. A lot of the decisions she made helped to enable this grassroots labor organizing surge. And so, that was a break from neoliberalism. Now, he has destroyed any possible positive legacy with genocide in Gaza and all kinds of other things besides, and being so arrogant and not getting out of the way, et cetera. But he did break with what the billionaires wanted and what the donors wanted in a few key areas. And I think we are very, that is not going to happen with Trump. Trump has already handed so much government power, and this will help us transition to Elon Musk with this Doge thing. I mean, Elon is not only the richest man on the planet, but he also has massive multi-billions of dollars in government contracts. He's one of the...
And it's such a great point. I know it's been made a million times, but I mean, if you even just look at Cenk's recent comments through that context, it all falls apart. Cenk Uygur for years and years has been supposedly against billionaire involvement, billionaire money in politics. And now he wants to act like he's optimistic and talk about how the establishment has been defeated, when Donald Trump is literally going to turn the government over to not just a billionaire, but the world's richest man. Literally the world's richest man. You could not construct a more cartoonish example of billionaires having control over our politics if you got together the world's greatest satirists and put them in a writing room and said, hey, come up with a movie.
Yeah, Mark Twain could be resurrected from the fucking death.
Yeah,
it's crazy. And Gavin, this is I was happy to see Krystal.
This vid might get in trouble whenever I talk about it, but who's hosting these Trump parties? Who's hosting these parties with all of Silicon Valley? You can look it up if you want to. They're bringing Mark Zuckerberg, Sam Altman, all these different people. Who is hosting this party? I'll tell you. It's Peter Thiel. Peter Thiel is also funding the Polygon Network. He's funding, TYT. So it only makes sense on why we have Cenk Uygur, who is acting clueless, who is saying, oh, yeah, he's definitely not an establishment. He's not for the establishment. Whenever it's clear as day that he is. We know what the bottom line is. Let's just call it for what it is.
Still draw this same example because this is something I tweeted yesterday before this interview even happened. It said, if Elon Musk was serious about cutting government spending, he would start with his own wallet. Socialism for me, but not for thee. People don't talk about the reason he is the richest man in the world is because of the government contracts that he gets to SpaceX, his share in equity in SpaceX. And I believe his compensation package of like $52 billion was just blocked by a judge because he was trying to pay himself $52 billion from SpaceX. Okay. Elon Musk is speaking out against government subsidies. Here is a list of the billions of dollars his businesses have received. And I was able to document last night easily like $19 billion that he'd recently gotten from the government. Remember, because Jeff Bezos threw a fit and said that it was favoritism in the government. So then they gave Jeff Bezos a bunch of government contracts too. Yep. It's absolutely ludicrous to take this guy seriously. And Gavin, do you remember when TYT, I don't know a ton about old TYT, but I do remember this. They used to talk about oligarchy. Cenk used to talk about how we don't live in a real democracy. We live in an oligarchy. And do you know why he would say that all the time? Because Bernie Sanders would say that all the time. And guess what? This is a textbook definition of we are seeing the world's richest man.
So there we have it, you guys. We have Krystal Ball going up against TYT, up against Cenk Uygur and Kasparian, and everybody's getting in on it. We have Krystal Ball. We have the Vanguard going in at it. I mean, Cenk Uygur and Kasparian, TYT, they are frauds. Like, I hope that it's very clear, it's very evident at this point. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. It's another day in the progressive way.